Good morning, distinguished guests, and importantly, the 1,400 students from our city's schools. Welcome on behalf of Newcastle's public, Catholic and independent schools communities to the 58th Annual Newcastle Combined Schools Anzac Service. Since its beginning in 1954, more than 57,500 Newcastle school students have attended this service.
Anzac Day traditionally commemorates the sacrifice of members of the Australian and New Zealand Armed Forces who have served and those who have died in all wars and peacekeeping operations. It is held on the anniversary of the landing of the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps at Gallipoli in Turkey almost 97 years ago on the 25th of April 1915, such as the men and women who served during the Vietnam War in the early 1960s to early 1970s. We will learn more about an Australian Army unit that served in the Vietnam War later in this service. This year marks the 70th anniversaries of major milestones in Australia's World War II military heritage. These include the British colonial city of Singapore fell to invasion by the Japanese on the 15th of February 1942. Many of these Australian POWs experienced great hardship and lost their lives as forced labourers of the Japanese building the Burma to Thailand Railway. We are very pleased that Newcastle resident Dr. Peter Hendry, AO, who served as medical officer in the Australian Army and is a veteran of the fall of Singapore, is with us today as a special guest. He cared for sick and injured Australian POWs on the infamous Burma-Thailand Railway. Shortly afterwards, air raids by the Japanese on northern Australian towns began with Darwin, then the townships of Townsville, Katherine, Wyndham, Derby, Broome and Port Hedland from the 19th of February 1942 until the 12th of November 1943. The city of Newcastle was attacked by a Japanese submarine on the 8th of June 1942. The submarine was driven off by the guns at Fort Scratchley. Sadly, there are no known veterans of the fort's garrison that served during the submarine attack still alive. Sydney was also attacked by Japanese midget submarines that entered the harbour and sank the depot ship HMAS Cuttable with a loss of 21 lives. Australia took an active fighting role in the World War II, both against Germany in Europe and Japan.
The theme for this year's service is Until Next Anzac Day, the Australian Army Training Team Vietnam, or AATTV, that served during the Vietnam War. Through today's service, we hope to pass on the memory of the Australian Army Training Team as part of our nation's military heritage. You may have heard of a country called Vietnam, where this war was fought. Vietnam is located north of Australia and is positioned between China, Laos and Cambodia. Vietnam is about the size of New South Wales, but has a population of approximately 86 million. North Vietnam was supported by Communist Russia and China, and South Vietnam was supported by America and her allies, including Australia.
A 30-man group of Army instructors known as the Australian Army Training Team Vietnam, the AATTV, was sent to South Vietnam by the Australian government in 1962 to help train the South Vietnamese armed and local defence forces in their conflict with the Viet Cong and the North Vietnamese. The team claimed the title as the first Australian unit to be sent to the Vietnam War and the last out in 1972, and finished the war as Australia's most highly decorated unit, with 4 Victoria Crosses. The Victoria Cross is the highest award for acts of bravery during wartime. Their stories are many, from the mundane, boring, to the terror of being surrounded by the enemy and fighting for survival. The team members had a responsibility to provide as much training as possible during their short 12-month posting to South Vietnam. They tried to teach the Aussie method of fighting to the South Vietnamese. However, they had trouble convincing them that they knew what they were talking about. This was yet another example of the need for the team to persevere in order to be successful. This is why the word persevere is the team's motto and appears on their badge. As many of the team members as possible would assemble at places like Australia House in Da Nang, where they would attend an Anzac Day ceremony in the morning before heading to the bar to catch up over a cold beer.
I was in the very first training team, you know, back in '62, 7:30 of it. That's tiny.
The first training team. I guess it's changed over the years. How was that like?
After the policy changed, the team members were allowed to accompany their soldiers on operations. They often found themselves engaged in combat more fierce than that experienced by the Australian units in South Vietnam.
By 1964, we weren't just trainers anymore. We're actually in the thick of it, fighting the war with them. Fighting alongside the Montagnards.
Oh yeah, the little local tribal people. Gosh, they were tough. They used jungle well.
They were real tough. They came from the highlands of Vietnam mostly. They helped us out on our combat missions. In no time, they were our mates as well as our allies. About loyalty, having each other's backs. Never forget that day when Simo was commanding our platoon, patrolling up near the Lao-Cambodian border. The fight went on for a whole day. The Montagnards were backing us up the entire time.
Put your money in the hat.
I got shot in the backside and I was lying there in the dirt for a couple of hours, I suppose. There was so much gunfire. And then Brian Walsh. He came and he pulled me behind a tree, and for a moment I was safe. There was even more gunfire between us, scaring us both to hell.
Did any of them connect?
Yeah, I got hit again. And then I heard someone try and destroy the enemy position with grenades, but they had no luck. Then all of a sudden there were three of us. Simo came onto the scene. Him and Brian managed to drag me to safety. There was so much guns going on.
Warrant officer, class 2.
Brian Walsh!
Going Jack.
11 and 12.
No Walsh family and Bull Walsh.
At the age of 9, Bull worked for a woodcutting service in the afternoons and on weekends.
You never wash shoes much.
You get your feet cut to pieces, walking around on this yard with all this room and glass. I bet you 10 pods he can't walk his truck though. What? Full of barbed wire.
Group of friends that,
Check his feet. Not a scratch. Martindale 3, 1951.
Dad was a war veteran, and we ran a small soldier 70 war. I used to help him out on farms. He would survey the fence lines,
We'd hold the poles.
and I'd drive them in.
We'd hold the pole.
And I'd drive them in.
Shot with a rifle.
He used to sell rabbit skins, making money. He got so good at it.
That he would let the rabbits run before he shot them.
After completing basic training as a cooper and infantry corps training at Barney Barracks Inglewood, he was posted to 2nd Battalion, RAR. Was later promoted to Lance Corporal. Thankful. On return to Australia, Bull was promoted to Sergeant. In early 1969, Bull undertook his second tour of training in Vietnam as a member of the
Australian Army Training Team, Vietnam.
Bull was promoted to temporary warrant officer, class 2, with a special forces group.
AATTV.
He was sent to Pekin with the Central Highlands of South Vietnam to train Montagnard minority tribesmen. Were the traditional enemies of the North Vietnamese and
Viet Cong.
these tribesmen developed great admiration for our march.
May 1969, Brian was leading a company of Montagnard soldiers. The whole time, Travis came under heavy enemy fire from close range.
Bull Walsh showed great bravery, helping wounded and saving the life of fellow Australians.
He was awarded the Military Medal for his brave act of gallantry. I can vividly recall sitting on the end of Brian's bed as he was packing his gear. When he went to place 4 books in his pack, he looked at me and he said in a quiet voice,
I think I'll only need 2 books instead.
Probably won't go home again from this crazy damn Vietnam War. Probably won't go home again from this crazy damn Vietnam War. Probably won't go home again from this crazy damn Vietnam War.
Heads up! Ready?
Vietnam!
Then 2! I was allocated to 2 Corps Mobile Strike Force in the Central Highlands of South Vietnam.
Our role was to break up the North Vietnamese Army siege. These battles could last anything from a day to 3 months.
As was the case at a camp known as Ben Hur.
Day 5, 4 o'clock. costing many lives. Brian immediately took me under his wing
Giving me much needed advice and support.
during my time in Ben Hess.
Patrolling.
15 miles northeast.
Day 5.
Make contact. NBA force. Initial contact. Very intense. Lost the NBA force. Battle continued for about an hour.
David, Rob, and Brian, the leaders to move out of our position.
And to conduct a reconnaissance of the enemy.
Brian Walsh was killed instantly.
One of the unwritten codes of soldiers is
Never leave your debt behind.
Lord mine killed them as well.
Brian Walsh was described as a rough and tumble kind of a bloke with a heart as big as his body.
A rough and humble kind of bloke with a heart as big as his body. I have seen the rain. I have felt the pain. I don't know where I'll be tomorrow. I don't know where I'm going. I don't even know where I've been. But I know I'd like to see them again. Spend my days just searching. Spend my nights in dreams. Stop looking over my shoulder, baby. I'll stop wondering what it means. Fly out, shoot out, far from home. Not sure if I'll see no more. Probably won't go home again from this crazy damn Vietnam War. Probably won't go home again from this crazy damn
Withdraw from the Vietnam War. The team's role returned to that similar to their original role in the war, as trainers of the Vietnamese, as well as some Cambodian troops. This change was referred to as the Vietnamization stage. During this stage, the team was trying to prepare the Vietnamese and Cambodian soldiers for a time when they would have to fight in the war without the support of allies.
So why'd they bring in Vietnamization in the first place?
Well, the test offensive of 68 really surprised the Americans. We didn't realise that Vietcong could organise such major attacks across the whole of Vietnam. Until Tet, the Americans at home believed the war in Vietnam was being won. Boy, Tet changed that.
So Vietnamization?
Yeah, we gradually hand the war back over to the Vietnamese as the Aussies and the American troops are going home. The South Vietnamese forces have doubled in size, meaning a much bigger role for the team.
And that's why they're so here.
Yeah, they need more military training. See, South Vietnamese, they were happy to let us win the war for them.
The unit was withdrawn on the 18th of December 1972, as the final elements of this proud unit were ordered to leave their Vietnamese soldiers and quit South Vietnam. The legacy of the Australian Army Training Team lives on today. Their value of perseverance against all odds survived in Australian Army Training Team Iraq. The names of 19 men from Newcastle and the Hunter region who lost their lives serving their country in the Vietnam War. It is my pleasure to introduce two veterans of the team who live in our community, Mr. Lester Boots and Mr. Ian Curry. Remember the service and sacrifice of Warrant Officer Class 2 Brian Walsh, Military Medal, Australian Army Training Team, Vietnam. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Peter Walsh, a brother of Brian Walsh. Mr. Walsh is wearing a replica of the Military Medal awarded to Brian for acts of gallantry and devotion to duty under fire. Sadly, Brian was killed before the medal could be presented to him, so his mother received it back in Australia.
I call upon the Guard Commander, Cadet Sergeant Jeremy Fletcher, of 211 Army Cadet Unit Newcastle. He will explain the role of the cadets in today's ceremony.
You may be wondering, what are they doing? These four people and I are members of what the armed services call a catapult party. Traditionally, the catapult is a raised structure upon which a coffin is placed for display before burial. A catapult may also be used on ceremonial services such as today and Anzac Day. As a shrine of remembrance, four armed sentries guard it as a sign of respect. As you can see, they have their rifles upside down. This tradition originated with the introduction of tanks into the army during World War I. When a soldier fell during battle, his mate would pick up his rifle and stick it in the ground by the bayonet upside down to ensure that the tanks will not run over his injured friend.
We now come to the time in the ceremony when the traditional elements of the Anzac service are performed. The first is the laying of tributes. Flowers have traditionally been laid on graves and memorials in memory of the dead. Wreaths, as a symbol of honour, are also used. Sometimes books are presented as a tribute instead of a wreath and are later given to libraries. Instead of wreaths or book tributes, single red poppies, also known as the flower of remembrance, will be laid on the Australian flag in memory of those who sacrificed their health, their strength, even their lives, that we might live in a free country. I invite the Lord Mayor Councillor, John Tate, and Lady Mayoress, Mrs. Kathy Tate, to lay the first tribute. Mr. Phil Winnie, representing the Newcastle District Council of RSL sub-branches. Mr. Michael Leach, Head of Marketing on behalf of sponsors, the Newcastle Permanent Building Society. Mr. Boyd Buffett, representing the Royal Australian Navy. Callan Wright, representing the Australian Army. Aircraftsman Reece Gordon, representing the Royal Australian Air Force.
Ceremony is the reading of the Ode of Remembrance. This is a verse taken from a longer poem called For the Fallen by Lawrence Beamian. It was selected in 1919 to unveil a monument in London.
They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
The last post is played with the bugle and marks the end of the soldier's day. The last post has been incorporated into funeral and memorial services as a farewell. It symbolises that the duty of the dead is over and that they can rest in peace. During the last post, the Australian and New Zealand flags will be lowered to half-mast. Please bow your heads so that we can have 1 minute's silence. This is a sign of respect to those who gave their lives for our country and to think about why we are here. In a moment, you will see the flags being raised to the mastheads. While this is being done, the bugler will play Reveille, which is a get-up call. It symbolises an awakening of a better world. Please remain standing and join Isabel Fortunato from St Francis Xavier's College, Hamilton, to sing the Australian National Anthem.
Oh, we are young and free.
Mr. Michael Leach, Head of Marketing at the Newcastle Permanent Building Society, to speak on behalf of the sponsors of today's service.
Thank you very much for the invitation to attend today's event. It's an honour to be representing Newcastle Permanent again for the annual Combined Schools Anzac service. As you've heard today, we've uncovered a fantastic story of the Australian Army Training Team Vietnam, and I would like to congratulate the students again for a wonderful performance.
I invite Mr. Phil Winnie, representative of the Newcastle District Council of RSL Sub-Region, to speak on behalf of the ex-service community.
The Newcastle ex-service community would like especially today to thank the Newcastle Permanent Building Society for their ongoing support, without which we would definitely not be able to conduct. I'm also sure that the Student Organising Committee would also like to thank James for his leadership role. He really does lead these students every year, who have done an outstanding job, absolutely outstanding job. You have truly succeeded in providing an extraordinary and a meaningful service here today. And from all of the Newcastle ex-service community, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Winnie. I invite the Lord Mayor, Councillor John Tate, to speak on behalf of the people of the City of Newcastle.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here with the Lady Mayoress to join you in what has been a wonderful acknowledgement of our Defence Force, the people who served, and those who gave their all so that we can be here today. I particularly want to thank the Newcastle Permanent Building Society for its commitment to the service, and by the extension, this is one of the very special events that I've come to understand and learn is special about our community. This year's service is focused upon a unique and impressive story of the Australian Army Training Team Vietnam, which is an important chapter in Australia's military. Acknowledge the service and the sacrifice of Warrant Officer Brian Walsh, MM, and congratulate the Lampham High School drama students for their interpretation of his life.
Thank you for joining us for this special Anzac commemoration.